Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about congenital nasolacrimal duct obstruction. Nasolacrimal duct is also known as tear duct. First we will see the anatomy of nasolacrimal apparatus. This is the nasolacrimal apparatus. You can see the lacrimal gland from which tears are produced. The tears which are produced from the lacrimal gland moisturizes the sclera over the eye and then enters the puncta of lacrimal apparatus. From the puncta, tears enter the canaliculi. From the canaliculi, lacrimal sac, and from the lacrimal sac into the lacrimal duct. This is the another picture showing the lacrimal apparatus. So lacrimal gland and then tears are produced. Tears moisturizes the sclera over the eye and then the tears enter the puncta, superior punctum and inferior punctum. After reaching the punctum, it enters the canaliculi, superior lacrimal canaliculi and inferior lacrimal canaliculi. And then tears enter into the lacrimal sac and then into the nasolacrimal duct. This is the another picture. In this picture, you can see the valve of Hassner. Valve of Hassner is situated in the distal part of the nasolacrimal duct. That is the place where the nasolacrimal duct enters into the nose. It is near the inferior meatus. In this picture, you can see the valve of Hassner, which is situated in the distal part of the nasolacrimal duct, that is near the inferior meatus. And you can also see the valve of Rosenmuller. It is situated at the junction of nasolacrimal canaliculi and nasolacrimal sac. Next, we will discuss about the physiology of tears production and drainage of tears. The tears are produced from the lacrimal gland. Tears which are produced from the lacrimal gland moisturizes the surface of the eye and then enters the lacrimal sac through puncta and lacrimal canaliculi. From the lacrimal sac, the tears are drained into the lacrimal duct and then into the inferior meatus. From the inferior meatus, they are drained into the nose. Coming to the pathology of congenital nasolacrimal duct obstruction. If there is some block in nasolacrimal apparatus, the tears which are produced from the lacrimal gland do not enter the nose. So they will be in the surface of the eye only. So excessive tears on the surface of the eye spills over outside. So it causes watery eyes. It is the main symptom of the congenital nasolacrimal duct obstruction, that is watering of eyes. Incidence is more common in preterms than term babies. It affects 5 to 20% of the children who are less than 1 year of age. In 95% of the infants with congenital nasolacrimal duct obstruction, symptoms manifest within 1 month of birth, that is during the neonatal period itself. In most of the infants, symptoms resolve before 1 year of age without any surgery with the help of lacrimal sac massage. In some children, even spontaneous resolution can occur. Coming to the symptoms of tear duct obstruction. Number 1 is overflow of tears. So because there is no drainage for the tears, tears overflow from the eyes. Overflow of tears is called as epiphora. Sometimes mucus drainage can occur from the eyes. If that mucus discharge is secondarily infected with bacteria, that discharge can turn into purulent discharge. Coming to the pathogenesis. Number 1 is mechanical obstruction. Usually unilateral, but can be bilateral in 20% of cases. Most common site of obstruction in the nasolacrimal apparatus is distal part of nasolacrimal duct, that is near the valve of Hassner. Obstruction occurs due to persistence of membrane or bone abnormalities or stenosis of the inferior meatus. Out of these, persistence of membrane is most common. Usually, mucopurulent discharge is seen in this type of obstruction. You can see the valve of Hasner near the inferior meatus in this picture. So the most common site of obstruction is near the valve of Hasner. Coming to the other common sites of obstruction. Other common site of obstruction is near the valve of Rosen-Muller, that is near the lacrimal sac. Usually watery discharge is seen in this type of obstruction. You can see the valve of Rosen-Muller in the right side picture. Valve of Hasner and valve of Rosen-Muller are the common sites of obstruction. Coming to the diagnosis of nasolacrimal duct obstruction. It is usually clinical, based on the history, symptoms and examination of the child. In rare cases, fluorescein dye disappearance test can be used. Usually the dye disappears from the tear meniscus in both eyes by 5 minutes. In nasolacrimal duct obstruction, this duration is increased. Coming to the differential diagnosis of nasolacrimal duct obstruction. Mainly includes the different causes of epiphora in infants. They are infantile glaucoma, foreign body in the eye, corneal infection and conjunctivitis. Coming to the complications of nasolacrimal duct obstruction that can occur if it is untreated. Infection of the nasolacrimal sac can occur, conjunctivitis can occur due to secondary bacterial infection, and anisometric amblyopia can occur. This obstruction usually resolves without any surgery in most of the cases by 1 year of age. Coming to the conservative treatment. It is the first line of treatment in children who are less than 1 year of age. Most common type of conservative treatment that is used is lacrimal sac massage. Lacrimal sac massage should be done 3 to 5 times at a time, TID, that means 3 times in a day. 3 to 5 times at a time, 3 times in a day. The maneuver used for the lacrimal sac massage is Krigler maneuver. In this maneuver, downward rotation of the thumb should be done over the tear sac to break the membranous obstruction. The membrane, if present, breaks due to hydrostatic pressure. Lacrimal sac massage is continued till the resolution of epiphora or till 1 year of age. The picture showing the massage of the tear duct. So before doing the massage, we have to press near the inner canthus, followed by downward pressure towards the nose. From the inner canthus towards the nose. So first we have to press and then massage downward. Press and massage downward. We are pressing near the lacrimal sac because if there is any membrane present near that, it will break due to hydrostatic pressure. This is another picture showing lacrimal sac massage. So coming to the other treatment options that are available or that are to be considered. First, coming to the antibiotic drops. Topical antibiotic drops are used only if bacterial superinfection is present. And invasive treatment like probing. Probing is the first line of invasive treatment and also the most commonly used invasive treatment. Probing is usually used in children who are more than 1 year of age. In some cases which are refractory to probing, other options like repeat probing, silicone tube intubation, balloon catheter dilatation and dacrocystorhinostomy are used. So the take home message is, whenever a newborn or neonate or early infant presents with watering of eyes, instead of waiting for spontaneous resolution, lacrimal sac massage should be initiated as discussed earlier until resolution of the watering of eyes or until 1 year of age, and topical antibiotics should be used only if bacterial superinfection is present. And don't hesitate to refer to an ophthalmologist whenever you feel it is necessary. If you want to see more informative videos like this, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon. Thank you.